What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and I'm joined by Tyler, and we are back for another video in our Avengers community series, a community series that airs every single Thursday at noon Eastern Standard Time, where Tyler and I talk about topics related to Avengers, Marvel in general, but mainly Infinity War as we get closer and closer to Infinity War's release on May 4th. So last week we talked about kind of the splitting up of the teams of the Avengers. We talked about what that kind of means and how they would really work with giving everybody their screen time. In this video, we want to talk about Thanos. Is he going to be overpowered? And really talking about him as a villain in general, because, as we know about the Marvel villains, we'll talk about that a little bit. They have a big opportunity here with that character. So we're going to discuss that. As always, let us know in the comments below if there's anything you want us to talk about, any future topics. We're going to be having a podcast about Avengers the week the movie comes out. And as always, let us know in the comments what you think about today's topic, and we're going to go from there. So Tyler, let's talk about Thanos. So the main thing is him being overpowered. We don't necessarily know how this movie's going to end, whether he's still going to be the main villain of 4, but what do you think about his character and about what they can do with him? Because as we've seen, and like I was kind of mentioning, Marvel has had villain problems. They've kind of done some good things with villains recently. Villains like Hela and Killmonger have been better, but they're not, the greatest villains in movie history. So what do you think they have in Thanos, and what do you think they have to kind of stay away from if he's to fall under the same kind of trap that they always end up?
Well, the main thing about Thanos that I think is going to be the biggest problem is whether or not he ends up getting all of the Infinity Stones for the Infinity Gauntlet. If we go by the new promo art that has come out, it looks as though that he does in fact end up getting all of the Infinity Stones. Now, why is that a big deal? Because every single time that we have seen an Infinity Stone on screen, and over the multiple movies, they're always extremely powerful. And they're in fact so powerful, like we'll use the example of Guardians of the Galaxy, that if all of them didn't hold hands and love each other so much, if they didn't all hold hands, it would have just killed all of them, like immediately. Like it destroyed planets. Just one stone alone was used to destroy planets. That's one stone. He's going to have 6. And, he's going to be able to change time, and it's going to be a lot of insane stuff. And I'm afraid, like, what do we know from the Comic-Con trailer that wasn't in the official trailer that was released to everybody, but what was shown in the Comic-Con trailer? Without him even having all the Infinity Stones, when he's on one of the planets, and Iron Man, Spider-Man, and I believe possibly Doctor Strange confronts Thanos, he uses like 2 of the Infinity Stones to take a moon that's behind him. He basically destroys it, and he takes the pieces and he throws it at our heroes. That's not even with all of the Infinity Stones at that point, at least according to that trailer. We've never, kind of like Alex said, we have like villain problems sometimes in the Marvel movies. Lately, they've been a lot better about them, which is good. The thing though is that they've never had to actually deal with a moon getting destroyed and being thrown at them. They have a hard enough time dealing with like a villain, like a person that's the same, that's like 5'7". They've never really had to deal with a moon coming towards them. So just that scene alone, I don't even know how that's gonna go. Like, how do you hide from that? What do you do? So my point is, I just hope, because Kevin Feige has said before that Thanos is essentially the final boss battle of like a video game, which is awesome because we've never had that ever in a movie. Any movie, not just Marvel, any movie. But the problem is he going to be one of those final boss battles where it's like a secret boss battle, like in Kingdom Hearts, where if you're not like level 100 and you're super good, you're never going to beat him, like Sephiroth or something. Like, is Thanos going to be Sephiroth, where it takes you 80 hours to defeat this character? I hope not. I certainly hope not, because the power that he possesses with these stones, on top of, we don't know, and I hope we find out, what is he without this gauntlet? But the power that he possesses with this gauntlet, it really, truly makes Thanos so much larger than life that it makes it hard for me to understand, visualize how our heroes, there's going to be over a dozen of these characters, but I don't know, I don't believe that there's any one character, or even like 2, 3 characters that would be able to take Thanos on if he was at full power. Which that, although cool, because to see them getting beat really bad, that would be pretty cool. It's also like worrying to me because I just don't know how they're going to go about that like actual fight.
And that kind of goes into like, when you talked about him being a final boss, what oftentimes kind of happens with that is like, is there going to be this super obvious weak point, and then when they do that, they're just going to destroy him? And that's another thing that I think that they could get themselves into, and whether or not you think that's a good or bad thing, I can see like the moment in whether it be this movie or the next movie where he say loses all his power. However, they he gets all the Infinity Stones, then he loses them all, and he just becomes this weak individual. And then it's just like one hit after one hit. Not kind of like a cheesy, like maybe a Batman thing where it says like pow and it's just constant hits. But I can see it possibly going into that kind of area where like everybody gets to take their hit on him. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they take him down, because I want it to be something that they have to figure out. Well, like, how are we going to beat a guy this powerful? What do we have to do to beat him? But I want it to be more of a journey and not an immediate, like, oh, we have to do this. I want it to be something that happens over a set period of time. So in the end, what I want is him, no matter what, whether he loses the gauntlet, whether he loses the Infinity Stones or not, and we know that he's not wearing armor. He's been preparing for this moment really for a very long time. So he's not weak with or without the Infinity Stones. He's a pretty powerful individual by himself. And that's good, because that's what I want. I want even him at his weakest to still put up a fight. I don't want it to be an easy, like, take down, finish him kind of moment. I want it to be a battle throughout. I think that's what we've deserved through a bunch of weaker villains, and then, this last little bit where we've gotten stronger villains. But I want Thanos to be the best of them all. So I don't want any weak moment. I don't think, as I was just saying, I don't think that's going to end up happening. Now, Tyler, we've talked about him kind of being a little, whether or not he's going to be overpowered or not. What do you think? Because, what they've been doing well recently is giving us a reason to like the villain. And we've talked about it in other videos through our other community series as well, like Pirates and Star Wars. How do you think they're going to, like, handle his character? Like, are we going to see why he, like, his motivation behind it? Are we going to, like, get a glimpse into his life? Or what would you want to see from Thanos other than him destroying our heroes?
Yeah, I think we are going to get... Now, this is the question, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because this changes my answer, I guess. We don't know whether or not Avengers 4 is going to still deal with Thanos, because we were originally told that it's a part 1 and a part 2. Then they kind of got away from that and said, oh, well, they're very individual films. The thing is that you can still have very individual films, even though they're completely connected, because we don't know whether or not time travel or entering a new universe, because maybe they fail the first time, so Doctor Strange and Iron Man or whatever come up with a way to enter a new universe, gives them a little bit more time to redo the fight. That's totally possible. And the reason I'm saying that is because I do believe we're going to get the full origin of Thanos in either Avengers 3 or Avengers 4. Which one, I don't know. Depends on, I guess, well, what we see in May. But I guess it depends on, the events that take place at the end of the movie and what Avengers 4 will be. Because we might not need to see his origins in 3. We might get hints based on certain things that he says or the Black Order say, but we might not actually visually see anything until the 4th movie. Or we might get that in 3, and then in 4, there's more time to focus on, well, how are we going to deal with them? But I think it almost makes sense for them to basically fully lose or whatever, and, maybe Ebony Maw or one of them, maybe Doctor Strange is able to get into their mind, or who knows how, how it might go. But what might happen is they might need to understand who Thanos is, where he comes from, and all that, in order to defeat him. And that might be how they learn to defeat him in the 4th Avengers film. That's kind of that's what I'm personally hoping for, is that they lose in 3. They have to learn, who this person is, to understand his character, who he is, in order to take him down. Because even though he becomes super powerful with this Infinity Gauntlet, there's always going to be personal things that can be maybe said. Like maybe somebody could say something about his mother, which sounds like hopefully this doesn't go the Martha route, Jesus. But but seriously, there could be certain things that are said like, well, you failed to do this, you failed to do that, and then he starts thinking about something, and then he goes in for this big like hit, but because he's kind of flustered, he starts to that power, he can't control it as well. Does that make sense to everybody? So I'm hoping that is what we get, because that would be very interesting. That it ends up becoming his ego that gets the best of him. It's his ego that ends up defeating him, which he clearly has, because Alex said. So Thanos in Avengers 3, he's shed his armor. And we've seen him in his armor at least 3 times, I believe. He has now shed his armor. He's been on this journey. He's been training physically, mentally. He's been preparing himself to steal and take these Infinity Stones for his own, to use them for his purpose, basically wipe out the universe, clean slate, start over, and essentially play God. So he believes that is his purpose in the galaxy. He believes that cleansing the universe, that's why he's here. That's why he exists. That's why he needs this power and all that stuff. So he clearly has an ego. He doesn't believe he needs armor because he can't be defeated and all that stuff. So I think that's how he'll end up being. That'll be his downfall. His own ego will be his downfall. But I do not believe that will be in Avengers 3.
So, Tyler, when I was talking earlier, and I was talking about the past villains that have done really well, I think a thing Marvel's been doing recently, starting really, Spider-Man, but maybe even a little bit before that, is making characters we can more or less relate to. Vulture was a pretty relatable character, and they kind of continue that with Hela in terms of we understand what she went through with the whole backstory, and even Killmonger being a pretty modern-day version of a certain kind of class. So they've been doing recently things to make us understand the characters, and they've been relying maybe more on that than the power aspect of the villain. So with Thanos, it very much seems like we're going to be intimidated and we're going to be seeing him as a villain based off of power. So is that how you would like to see him in 3? Do you think they're going to focus more on just his insane strength and abilities in 3? And do you think that hurts or helps his character, considering he is like the big bad that we've talked about?
So I do think he's going to be super powerful, where it's like, not overbearing, but it's like, how are they going to beat this guy? But I think that the way, and I think we got a glimpse in the teaser trailer, I think the way they're going to go about it is he's going to be very like monk-ish. He's going to be like very like poetic, and like he'll come off as like a higher being, like he's ascended, or does that like description make sense? Where he's like almost like a priest type. Like, it's gonna be interesting because it's like, man, he's so powerful, but he's saying all these like poems or something like that. Like, he's being so poetic about it. He's like, I'm not gonna give an example of it because I'm not good with that. But he's like destroying these people, and he's saying like poetry, and that actually, in my opinion, makes him even cooler, because it shows how. It's not even, it almost makes you question, like, is it that it's the stones and the gauntlet that's making this powerful? Or is he truly this powerful because he's beyond certain things, and he knows his role, he knows his destiny, he knows all these things, and that's what makes him strong? Does that make sense? Which makes him look less villain-like, because if he gives his reason why he wants to cleanse the universe, and it's a decent reason, like, or if it's a legitimately good reason, let's say, there we have this same thing where it's kind of like hell. It's like, well, yeah, she fought alongside her own father, who was just as bad as her. He just kind of covered it all up. So if we get a Thanos where he's being very poetic, he's being very ascended, he has very good motives for why he wants to do what he does. Maybe he tells us his vision, not like Ego, not like Peter Quill's father, because he was obviously off the deep end. But I don't think Thanos will be that way. I think he'll be different. I think that he has been watching for a long time. I think he believes that with all these stones, with his power, he'll be able to create life. He'll be able to kind of move it in a certain direction, that in like a way that I think he'll be able to make sure that things don't end up going bad for anybody. And who knows what he might, his true motives are. Because I don't think it's going to be quite like in the comics. It'll be similar, but not quite. But if he's that way, it's going to be where it's like they are in his way. The Avengers are standing in his way. And really, it's like every time he swats one of them down, it's kind of like, should we actually be wanting him to, other than the death of our, the characters that we like, should we even be, who should we be rooting for? Should we be rooting for the Avengers, or should we let him succeed? Then that makes him less of a villain. That makes him less, overly powered, I guess, because he's understood. And it makes sense. It's essentially like God is here, and you people are preventing God from doing his work. That's how I think it's going to kind of feel.
So let us know in the comments below. What do you guys think about Thanos? How do you think they should work with his character? Do you think he's going to be too overpowered? What do you think his motives are going to be? Let us know. Make sure, again, you subscribe to our YouTube channel, Podcast Now. We do these videos, this Avengers Community Series, every single week, every Thursday at noon Eastern Standard Time. We're going to be having a podcast, loads more topics. Let us know if there's any topics you want us to talk about that you haven't already suggested. We've gotten a couple suggestions, and we'll get to all of those when we can. So thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next Thursday.